I'm Chase Hughes, that's Bijan Todd, and on today's episode of Off the Bench, we've got an extensive conversation with tennis star Frances Tiafoe, who is a massive Wizards fan. We got him to play our game NBA Knockout, which was really fun. We've also got some really cool insight on Tre Johnson from interviews with Sixers star Tyrese Maxey and Magic wing Anthony Black, both of whom knew Tre as kids growing up in the Dallas area. So Bijan and I, we gathered those interviews over the past week, and you will hear them first on Off the Bench. I'll also recap an event from last week involving the Capital City Go-Go and Howard University. And speaking of college basketball, Ed Cooley and Georgetown got a big-time recruit. And when I mean big time, I'm not exaggerating. We'll tell you about that as well. And after we talk to Tiafoe, Big Foe, our producer, Steven Shoemaker, will join us for a quick Wizards mailbag. But Bijan, let's start with Tre Johnson. If you want to set the scene for us here, go ahead.
So, Chase, you made me aware of this before the Wizards played the Sixers. I knew Tre Johnson was from Dallas, and I knew that Tyrese Maxey was also from Dallas, but I didn't really put it together in my head that they might have overlapped at some point. So after the game was over, I went into the Sixers locker room, and obviously Tyrese Maxey was going to talk because he dropped close to 40 points in that game. And he comes on, and it's a big scrum, and at the end of the scrum, I'm able to ask him, "Hey, Tyrese, I know you're from Dallas. Tre Johnson's also from Dallas. You got to play against him today. Did you have any connection with him before coming to the NBA?" And he was like, "Yeah, I used to, hang out with him."
Well, don't spoil it.
I'm not spoiling it. It's a longer interview than that. But he gave a good answer about running into him at AAU and stuff, and how proud they are that they're still in the NBA together at this stage. So it's really cool. It's a really cool moment.
Tyrese, you're from Dallas, and so is Tre Johnson of the Wizards. Did you have any connection with him before this game?
Yep, that's it's funny because I guess I'm getting a little older because when I was young, AAU, like he was like around, like coming to my games, watching me play. His family was around, and now like in the NBA, like he's here, and it's like he's arrived. He's good too. Like he made some shots today. I told him I'd get his jersey after the next time we play the Wizards, but he was really good tonight.
So what does that mean, like you two going through that journey? Not together, he was a little bit behind you, but seeing him at the same level as you now, what does that mean?
Amazing, man. I'm happy. I'm proud. I think Dallas has done a good job of producing some pros.
That was not the only Dallas connection between Tre Johnson and another NBA player. Anthony Black of the Orlando Magic is also from Dallas, and he gave a pretty good answer to you, Chase, about their connection growing up in the Dallas area together. Here's what he had to say.
So what do you think about Tre Johnson kind of being part of that next wave of talent from Dallas?
Happy for him. It wasn't hard to tell. Obviously, seeing him come up, he was always talented. He's a bucket getter, and he's doing well in the league. So, super happy for him.
What do you remember about seeing him come up?
Just how talented he's always been with the ball. Always been able to get his own shot. Great three-point shooter, and he's able to just get buckets. So, he's always been a competitor too, super competitive.
Did you ever play against him, and do you have any stories of crossing paths?
He actually beat me. He was a freshman.
Oh wow!
Played him in the playoffs. They won my junior year. Good game, close game, but they ended up winning. So just remember that obviously, and it's gonna be fun playing him again.
We just talked to Tyrese Maxey. You're from Dallas. What can you say just about the talent coming from that area?
Just as up and coming. I just think it comes from everybody playing against each other growing up. There's no duck and comp, so I think everybody's doing well, and I think it's going to continue to be more dudes coming into the league from Dallas, so it's good to see.
So, Chase, what did you think about Tyrese saying that? I thought it was really cool about how he brought in family stuff, because I think that's very important, and I believe there's maybe a 3 or 4 year age gap between the two of them. So what did you think about what Tyrese had to say?
Well, first of all, there's kind of a trend I'm noticing with Tre's father, Richard, that guy knew what he was doing when Tre was growing up because he was doing all the right things, taking him to a Tyrese Maxey AAU game. That's really smart. And then while the Magic were in town, speaking of Anthony Black, who we just heard from, I got to introduce myself to God Shamgod, who, of course, was on this show recently. And before Sham was in Orlando, he was in Dallas. And somehow Tre's father got in touch with God Shamgod and invited him to a game of Tre's when Tre was a freshman in high school. So, he had an NBA assistant coach, and God Shamgod, who, if you heard the interview, he's like the Forrest Gump of basketball. Obviously, has a long track record himself in the basketball world. To get him to watch Tre as a freshman, and then all these years later, God Shamgar was coaching against Tre Johnson. I thought that was a cool connection as well.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool, and I thought it was awesome. I got to talk to God Shamgod right before the Wizards played the Magic, and he's just such a nice dude. Like we knew that when we interviewed him, like he's just so down to earth and everything, and it was super cool. And I thought Anthony Black, also obviously hailing from Dallas, he gave a pretty good answer to your question. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks to Anthony Black for being a great sport because I actually had to ask him to walk out to the hallway because the Magic were playing like really loud music. Jace Richardson had his playlist blaring on the speakers.
How
So
was his playlist? Did you get any of the songs on Aux?
it was good. I mean, it
Okay.
was obviously a lot of trap music. He's very young. He's a one and done guy, rookie in the league.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's my favorite kind of music. So I was enjoying it. And by the way, the visitors' locker room has been renovated. It looks really nice at Capital One Arena. But speaking of Tyrese Maxey and Anthony Black, so Dallas has like a ton of talent coming through the draft in recent years. And I really noticed this a couple years ago. It was at the NBA Draft Combine. They had Anthony Black, Cason Wallace, and Nick Smith Jr. all going lottery in the same year. And I just saw a TikTok where Cade Cunningham, who's from nearby Arlington, Texas, he said he thinks it's now the mecca of basketball, which I don't think we have to go that far. Like, let's not be ridiculous here. Like, we know that's still the DMV. I think Dallas is probably a pretty good candidate for second place at this point. But, shout out to Dallas. They've got a ton of talent coming through in the basketball world.
So the Tyrese Maxey Tre Johnson storyline was not the only cool thing that happened during that Wizards Sixers game, which the Wizards ended up unfortunately losing in overtime. But that game also saw Alex Sarr playing against Joel Embiid for the first time in both of their careers. Embiid was on a minutes restriction, so it wasn't like they were both playing 40 minutes against each other, but it was a really entertaining matchup. And Sarr was actually really aggressive going at Embiid in the first quarter, which was a little bit surprising for me, but a really pleasant development, I think. So I got into the Sixers locker room, as I mentioned, and I asked Joel Embiid about what it was like to go up against Alex Sarr, and his answer was actually very cool. So here's what Embiid had to say about going up against the 20-year-old for the first time.
This is your first time matching up against Alex Sarr, and you were both very aggressive going after each other, especially early. What did you see from that matchup, and what do you think about his game?
I wasn't aggressive. I was just playing basketball. It's good. Obviously, 7-1. Can shoot the three, pretty skilled. Tonight, he showed it. Made a lot of shots, lots of tough shots. But I'm always happy when I see big man kind of, showing that game, and especially showing that way. So, big fan, but he's got a long way to go. But this is a good start for him. He just needs to be more consistent and, keep doing it every night.
So, Chase, a pretty cool answer there from Joel Embiid on playing against Alex Sarr. What stood out to you about what he had to say?
Well, I think there's some respect that's building there. I know he said he's got a long way to go, but like if you watch that game, I mean, Alex Sarr was matching Joel Embiid shot for shot at the beginning of the game. Neither guy could stop either one, which I thought was really cool to see from Alex Sarr because obviously that's a really tough matchup from a physical standpoint, first and foremost. But obviously Joel Embiid's also one of the more talented scorers in the league. What'd you think?
I thought it was really cool, and I agree with you that like him getting that exposure in his second year and the third or fourth game of his second year to go against Embiid was super cool. I also thought it was cool that Embiid said, "I love it when bigs show their game in that way," meaning making a lot of tough shots. And I think Embiid kind of gave himself a subtle pat on the back, being like, "It's not really that easy to score on me." But Alex Sarr did that, and so I applaud him for that. And I thought that was a really cool thing for Embiid to say. So shout out to Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey and Anthony Black for giving us all those cool answers on young Wizards. I thought it was a really good week in terms of getting intel on the young core of the team.
Absolutely. Expect more of that on Off the Bench moving forward, by the way. Speaking of shout-outs, I wanted to give a shout-out. I went to an event on Friday at Burr Gymnasium on the campus of Howard University. The Capital City Go-Go had an open practice, and afterwards they held a networking session for students. And I have to say, I did not expect the full extent of the access that these students got. So first of all, Howard student managers, they got to shadow the Go-Go coaching staff. The students then got to interact with Wizards GM Will Dawkins, Go-Go GM Jonathan Wall, their assistant GM Marshall Forney, and they had all these stations set up for kids who wanted to learn about like marketing, content creation, even data analytics. And it was like the top executives from the Wizards and the Go-Go. So good job by the organization. Also, Howard GM Daniel Marks, who helped organize it. And Bijan, I was talking to Matt Quinn from the Wizards PR staff because it kind of took us back to like when we were in college trying to break into sports and we had no connections. And it reminded me, I actually went to a completely worthless networking event held by an NBA team. I won't name the team because I don't want to shade them. But basically, I was in college, a buddy of mine, we both wanted to get into sports. We each paid $60, which was like a
I
fortune
had
at
to
the
pay to
time.
get in. That's crazy.
Yeah, it came with a ticket to the game that night, but it
Okay.
was like a fortune for us as broke college kids at the time. We drove 5 hours there
Oh my
and
God.
5 hours back after the game. So like in the middle of the night. And all we got out of it, besides a ticket to the game, we saw Dwight Howard on the Magic. That was cool. But we got to like stand in a long line, drop our resume in a hopper, and have like a 30-second elevator pitch with a sales rep who like clearly did not want to be there. So what the Wizards did was like the exact opposite of that. So kudos to them. But I also got to see the Go-Go roster up close in an open practice. And Bijan, I'm curious if you take a look at the Go-Go roster going into the season, and does anybody stand out to you?
Yeah, what's interesting about the Go-Go this year is that there's a ton of roster turnover from last year. It's almost like an entirely new squad with the players they had last year going into this year. The guys that I'm paying attention to are Skal Labissiere, who was a first-round pick, by the way, by Phoenix, I believe back in 2015 or 16. And he's bounced around the G League since then. He actually won the G League championship last year with the Stockton Kings, which was really, really interesting. Now he's on the team. He's going to provide them a little bit of versatility both ways. Also, I was going to shout this guy out. It's Alondes Williams, who came from Wake Forest University, former ACC Player of the Year. Now he is
Super
on
athletic.
crazy athletic. He had one of the best dunks in Vegas Summer League history playing for the Miami Heat. He spent the first couple of years of his career in the Miami system, and now he's here in DC. I thought that was a great pickup for the team.
So we're 4 episodes into Off the Bench, and you've mentioned Wake Forest and the fact that you went there twice.
That's okay. I'm batting 500. That's cool. That's a Hall of Fame batting average, by the way. I'm gonna get that up. Don't worry. I'll make sure I get it up. But no, Alanis is a good pickup. And then there are a bunch of guys who I think are gonna have to fight for minutes, but each person that they have doing that is going to be a similar dynamic to the Wizards, where you have a really crowded, deep wing room, and guys are going to need to win their minutes. So it's going to be survival of the fittest out there. Jamir Watkins on a two-way deal is going to be the king of that for both teams. He's probably going to get a lot of minutes with the Go-Go, and hopefully earns a call-up to the Wizards a couple times. What do you think about the Go-Go this year?
Yeah, so watching them up close in their open practice, Skal Labissiere, as you mentioned, he's a 5-year NBA vet, and he's got an NBA body. He's 29 years old, so he was just kind of dominating people. I mean, it was very clear that there was a difference between him physically, between the rest of the guys on the roster. But Tyler Smith, I find very intriguing. He was a recent draft pick. I liked him going in the draft. Big, versatile, left-handed four. The Go-Go just drafted him in the G League draft. And then another guy who stood out was Kadari Richmond. He's got great feel and court vision. I liked what I saw from him. You can tell he was really well coached in college. He just played at St. John's last year for Rick Pitino, who obviously has a decent track record as a college basketball coach. All right, let's move on to the Francis Tiafoe interview. And before we toss to it, Bijan, what were some highlights for you that fans and listeners and viewers can kind of look out for?
So, for people who don't know everything about Tiafoe, I'm sure people know his tennis background, but you might not know that he is a legitimate ball knower. Like, he's a huge Wizards fan. He is actually tapped into the team. Chase, he referenced Keyshawn George's 34-point night in Dallas without us bringing it up. So, like, he's tapped into the team. Him talking about the young core of the team was really cool. Him talking about playing in D.C. and the City Open over the summer was really cool. And all of his other stories are pretty awesome as well.
Yeah, I would have the same takeaway. We played NBA knockout with him, and I tried to like go easy on him and pick like kind of semi-household names, and I didn't want to like have any deep cuts. After doing it, I clearly could have gone down like any NBA rabbit hole I wanted to, and he would have known who those players are. So without further ado, here is our interview with tennis star Francis Tiafoe.
Joining us for a very special edition of the Off the Bench podcast is one of the best athlete products from the DMV ever. It's Mr. Francis Tiafoe. Francis, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing, man?
We're doing well, brother. How about you guys?
Doing
We're
great.
doing well. So, quick backstory. Francis obviously hails from Hyattsville, Maryland, where he was raised at a tennis facility, the JTCC, where his dad was head of maintenance. Francis has won 3 singles titles in his career, been as high as number 10 on the international ATP rankings, currently number 28. Also happens to be a huge Wizards and DC sports fan. Francis, I'm going to get to all that eventually, but I want to start off with your upbringing with regards to being a sports fan. Do you remember like your early memories about watching sports and watching DC teams and some of the games you remember watching, whether it be the Wizards or the Commanders, or the Capitals, or anything like that?
Yeah, man. I just love where I'm from, first and foremost, and obviously Man, just when I think DC sports, man, I'm super young with the Gilbert Arenas days, but obviously the John Wall era was huge. I still don't think it gets spoken about enough, man. He was that guy, man. He had the city on go, man, from on the court to off the court. He had so much swag and the way he did it, and obviously with Brad as well. I still think if we had a longer time with them, I could have done something special, even though they had that great run in 17. But yeah, that and then the RG3 run, 3-6, and we made the playoffs that one year. Yeah, man. Like I just love DC sports, man. I love supporting it because it's small niche.
Yeah, Francis, Bijan kind of alluded to it, but your backstory is unbelievable. You know, I tell stories about athletes for a living. I'm very fortunate to say that. And your backstory is about as unique as any I've ever heard. And, you know, as Bijan mentioned, you know, your parents, they immigrated from Sierra Leone. Your dad was a maintenance worker at the Junior Tennis Champions Center in College Park, Maryland. I played a couple tournaments there growing up, by the way. And you basically grew up there, right? You got into tennis classes at a young age, and the rest is history. You became one of the best players in the world. But what if it was a basketball academy that your dad worked at, and it was basketball that you picked up at an early age? Like, how far do you think you could have gone if you committed the same amount of time and energy into basketball?
Yeah, man. I would love to know if I started picking up a ball. I'd probably be in Europe somewhere. I don't know if I would have been league, but I definitely would have been in Europe somewhere trying to get some cheese for sure. I mean, I just had an insane amount of dedication, so I wonder. But obviously, man, I mean, the game's only getting taller and taller, and guys are, insanely skilled. But I would have loved to know the same dedication, the same day in, day out, having a ball in my hand, nonstop, what that would have looked like. But I'm happy what I'm doing now.
I would say it worked out pretty well for you.
Yeah.
But so you said on multiple interviews before that you would be a hooper if you didn't play tennis. So if you did end up going into hoops, what player would you model your game after?
Um, man, that's a crazy question. Um, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Westbrook, bro. Super
Oh,
fast,
okay. Another former Wizard.
super fast. Played with a lot of energy. Um, but I would have had in the OKC midi, not the midi, the OKC midi. Yeah. So yeah.
So, we know you rep all the DC sports teams, right? You're a true diehard, like to your core. So I got to ask you about Alex Ovechkin breaking Wayne Gretzky's goals record. Like, where were you when that happened, and what was your reaction when you saw it or heard it happen?
I want to say I was in Europe. And yeah, man, stayed up, had to see it live, and I was shout out to the Monumental Sports organization sending me stuff and having me able to post stuff, and yeah, man, he's to pass the grade one is insane, and obviously, I mean, he's been on the team what 90 years. I mean, the guy's incredible, man, and one of the most probably one of the most decorated and best athletes of all time. To have that in DC is incredible. We met a bunch of times. He's always been super nice and you know crazy nice words about me going forward and giving me advice. So I'm a huge fan of him and shout out Ovi, man.
What kind of advice has Ovi given you?
Man, just every time we speak, man, just keep your head down and but enjoy it because it's a quick one. But keep your head down and keep the main thing. Obviously, go and have fun, but keep being you. And from guys saying that, it's so big coming from a guy like him because he's definitely him at all times. But I find a lot of the great ones, man, it's very little words, but for whatever reason, it speaks volumes because it's coming from them.
Hard to imagine another athlete who you would rather get advice from than the NHL's all-time leading goal scorer. Like that's crazy. But Francis,
No, yeah, he's the guy. The guy.
speaking of your upbringing in DC, I saw you play back in July at the City DC Open at Rock Creek Park. It was the match where you beat Flavio Caboli, I think, in straight sets. When I
Backed
was
him up, yeah.
When I was in that stadium watching that game, dude, the fans were just like ballistic for you. Partially because they love you as a player, but they also love you as one of DC's own sons. So what was that like playing in your own hometown and receiving that kind of love from your hometown community?
Bro, man, I played the Open, I played all around the world and played big matches. And when I play home, it's different nerves, man. I go around and it's a small venue. I go around everywhere and I know everybody. I look in the crowd, I know guys, and the love is crazy. No matter how good or bad my season's been going, I'm gonna pack the arena out, 100 tickets, and friends and family, and see how many people want to come support the kid is amazing. And super humbling, and getting people from different sports and walks of life to come out because DC is so small, man, and everyone's super connected, whether it's business or entertainment or sports. So it's awesome, man. Extremely grateful. But man, it's probably my most nerve wracking, man. In tournament, I really want to win.
Speaking of your connection to the DMV and trying to stay connected, you mentioned you were in Europe when Ovi broke the goals record. As you traveled the world for your job, which is, obviously taking to all corners of the globe, how do you try to remain connected to the DMV community, and how do sports fit into that?
Well, first off, I mean, every time I go home, I'm fry at every game, whether it's Mrs. games, Wizards games, Commanders games. I'm not missing anything. I had 1 year at the Open. I threw first pitch for Nationals. I like to be cool with all the owners. You just never know. DC Power, DC United. I just love sports, man. I love getting things from sports, understanding nuances and what have you, and then supporting people from home. It's the area that grew me up, and I feel like I want to be close to all the guys who come into the city, guys and girls who come to the city, and um, yeah, man. If you're doing great things in my city, it means a lot. It only helps if you vamp up the city. So I love it.
So on that
That's how I
subject,
stay connected.
I want to put you on the spot then. Which DC team winning a title would mean the most to you?
Oh man.
No
Well,
judgment.
you gotta take out the. I mean, the Wizards doing it would be crazy. Obviously, Commanders last year was nuts. I went to Philly, the NFC Championship, but
They treat you all right
for
up there?
me, come on now, come on, man. Field access before the game. I got to see five, give him a hug of luck and stuff.
But the
That
fans, I
that
mean,
that.
how'd the fans treat you?
Oh, I was getting cooked. Oh no, I was getting cooked. I had the whole Unk outfit on. I had the beanie, the jacket, pants. I had to hold in the scarf, and I was getting cooked. I was getting cooked. F you, Tiafoe. We know who you are. We don't care. Blah blah. Me and Wale. So that was fun, man. That was fun.
Yeah, I don't want any Mike Scott at the tailgate situations. But hey, Bijan and I,
No,
we're
no, no,
both
no, no.
Commanders fans. Every DC sports fan wonders what it would be like to go into the Hornets nest wearing DC gear. So you actually did that, man. Respect to you.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy. That's crazy.
So speaking of the
Sure.
Commanders, man, I was wondering they're in the middle of their season right now. It's not going as hot as last year, but like how deep of a Commanders fan are you? I'm sure you watch most, if not all, the games. Like, what do you think of their season and what they're building here?
Well, I think we're an insane team. I just think we've been unlucky injuries. I think I mean Terry, obviously, that was tough. That was the whole thing to figure out his contract late, and then wasn't ready to go. He's been hurt. Devo's been in and out hurt. Jaden also. He's playing and like so. It's just injuries. It's injuries. But I still think hopefully we can make a playoff push, at least wild card spot, and see what happens. I think Jaden makes some special things happen. I think we're a great team. I love our defense. I love our coach. I love our offense coordinator. So don't get me started, man. I'll start rambling, bro. I love it. I love where we're at, man. Ownership's great, but like we're it's a lot of great energy for the Commanders.
That's great, man. The Wizards, they're rebuilding right now. They're one of the youngest teams in the league. And we talk all the time about how young the players are, but it's like nothing like tennis. Tennis players, they turn pro when they should be in high school, right? You did that. So
Yeah, I
having
turned pro
done it,
17.
yeah, having done that yourself, like What do you think it takes for a young athlete to find their way early on with all the pressures that come with that and make sure that it's sustainable as they get into their physical prime?
Fall in love with the work. Got to fall in love with the work. Same thing what got you there. Same thing is going to take you to the next level and the next level of the work. I think sometimes, get some money in your pocket, get famous, you get lost a little bit. Enjoy it, but don't, just remember the work, man. Just remember, stay to work. And for those guys, it's amazing because they got, vets on the team, which I like in Middleton and McCollum. So lean on those guys, man. Ask questions, like don't be too prideful to ask questions. Ask questions and be a sponge and, yeah, and learn. Continue to learn and soak up as much as you can because you're gonna need that. Try to fit in. And it's not easy to stay in that league for a long time, man. It's great. There's some great players in this league. So, but I like where we're at. I really like where we're at.
And speaking of where they're at, you were asked a couple months ago. You were asked about the Wizards and their current where they're at in the rebuild, and you were like, what the interviewer was like, what move should they make? So it's like the team is like doing your recommendation list for what they should do as a GM. And I wanted to ask your opinion on those moves now. Like, how does it work out? I think it's pretty good.
Dude, we're looking good. First off, Sarr must have had a great offseason, man. He looking ready to go. So obviously you got CJ, you got Chris Middleton, got the French boy Bilal. I mean, I like where we're at. I got Bub. I mean, we got some nice young dudes, and I like our pick. I like Tre Johnson. He's nice too, hungry dog. I'm telling you, man. I like what my man Will doing. I mean, AJ is gonna be the guy. I mean, AJ is out of control. I mean, I love AJ. That's my guy. I love that dude. I mean, he's gonna be special dude in the league, but I don't even know how the draft goes, man. I'm not thinking about him, so I'm not thinking about picking up him up.
Let me ask you this. So my two sports growing up were basketball and tennis, so I've always paid attention to the crossover. And there's been some great tennis players who were known more for basketball. Like John Lucas is probably the GOAT of that, right? He's the number one pick in the NBA draft. He was also the number one tennis player at Maryland. It seems like you've heard. So I'm curious, which current NBA players do you think could have been great tennis players if they committed to it at an early age?
Yeah. Y'all could have been really good. Just because, he's light, like, he got bounce. I mean, I don't know if he's obviously everyone in the league coordinated, but I think Ja could have been really good. I think John Wall too. I'm talking about obviously they played from young.
Try hitting an overhead over Ja Morant, by the way, or a lob, I should say.
That's what I'm saying. Like the guy would just. And then you got guys that are good. Like, right, you got Steve Nash, Dirk, who can hit, who can actually play. Steve Nash plays 4 hours a day.
Wow.
Yeah, he loves tennis. I mean, I'm talking about I can hit with him up and down, no problem.
So I was gonna ask, have you hit with NBA players?
Yeah, I mean, I hit with Steve, I hit with Dirk. A lot of the other dudes are trash. They just can't really hit with them. But I mean, but those two I've hit with often. Can't remember some other guys. I mean, I've just seen some other guys. Jeff Green plays all the time.
No way. That's unk.
Yeah,
That's
he'll send me some videos. Iguodala will send me some videos. It's pretty funny. But Jeff he's actually kind of nice. For a beginner level.
Speaking of the tennis basketball pipeline, take me back to the 2023 celebrity game at the All-Star Weekend. You played alongside DK Metcalf.
You saw a couple of middies. Saw me a couple of middies.
You did, right? But you played with DK Metcalf, who won MVP, and you were playing against Calvin Johnson, who's an insane alien.
Yeah, and Calvin was trying to scare me. I got the rock. He's I almost bricked the shit out of that thing. But no, it was awesome. It was awesome to play against all those guys, man. First off, to even be in that room. I mean, I'm sitting there we got Calvin Johnson, DK, 21 Savage. Who else was there? Monet, just well-known people. So it was a lot of great names, a lot of cool people, man, and people that I've continued to be friends with. So my great buddy now is in Qual Wall. So it was really cool, man. I was super nervous, man. I remember 2017. I'm Francis, huge fan. I ain't trying to, bother you. He's like, no, I know exactly who you is, man. He's like, my daughter plays tennis because he. I was like, that's tough. That's super tough. So that was cool.
So with any professional athlete or anyone who's played sports, there's always like milestones along the way. And for NBA players, it's always like we ask them, when's the first time you dunked, right? Like, usually they were like in 8th grade, 9th grade. For you, do you remember the first time you saw 100 on the radar gun from one of your serves?
Yeah, bro. Yeah, there was this tournament in Europe. I remember, and I was like serving I had like a 115 at like 13.
Wow.
And I was like, man, I'm serving huge, man. Like I'm in this growth spurt, I'm serving huge. I'm like, I'm the guy. That was a big moment for me. That was a big moment for me.
And
That was cool.
what's the fastest serve you ever hit?
Fast serve I hit now 143. 43.
Not bad.
So I can get it up there now. That's not consistent, but I can get it up there.
That's tough. Yeah, and Francis, we know you're limited on time. We just got a couple more for you. One of them would be, I want to know your favorite Wizards of all time, and then separately your favorite obscure NBA players of all time who didn't play on the Wizards.
Well, John's my favorite Wizard of all time. Even though Hibachi was incredible, John's my favorite Wizard of all time. Then AI. Love AI.
Not obscure. I'll give it
AI
to you, though. He's a big name.
AI was different, man. Obviously, rest in peace, Kobe. Huge Kobe fan. I guess I like killers, man. Like I like just, like guys that are just like right now, like I love guys like Giannis, guys like Luka, Shea, who just getting buckets every night. But yeah, I mean, but I'm a big fan right now of Wemby, man. You see what Wemby doing right now?
It's ridiculous.
Unbelievable. All right, I told you I want to play. We play a game on here called NBA Knockout, and so it's very simple. You just tell me who was better between two players, and we go down the list. All right, Francis Tiafoe, who was better, Jared Allen or Mikal Bridges?
I love Mikal. Kill my guy. I'm going Mikal.
Mikal Bridges or Walker Kessler?
Mikal.
Mikal Bridges or Sarr Thompson?
Still going Mikal though.
Mikal Bridges or Peyton Pritchard?
Come on. Nah. I'm still going Mikal.
All right, Mikal Bridges or DeAndre Ayton?
Mikal. I'm trusting Mikal. I'd want Mikal on my team over
Mikal Bridges or Shaedon Sharp?
Still going Mikal. I think Mikal's tough.
They'll get harder, I promise. Mikal Bridges or Jaden McDaniels?
Jaden McDaniels. I mean, he two-way. I mean, he'd lock up 1 through 5, 1 through 4 for sure. I'm still going Mikal. God, I'm showing love to Mikal.
Mikal Bridges or Aaron Gordon?
Nah, AG.
AG, okay.
Aaron 50, 10 for 11 the other day?
Yeah, 360 alley-oop. He's insane. Aaron Gordon or Scotty Barnes?
Barnes is nice, but AG.
Aaron Gordon or Tre Young?
Oh, man, that's tough. By the way, if they put on the same team, that would be nuts. AG.
Aaron Gordon or Cade Cunningham?
I'm going Cade Cunningham. Cade is tough.
Yeah, he is.
Tough.
Cade Cunningham or LaMelo Ball?
That's a good one.
That's a great one. Cade's been a winner. Gotta go Cade.
Mm-hmm. Cade Cunningham or Jimmy Butler?
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. That's real tough. Shout out to the old heads, man. Shout out Jimmy. Going Jimmy, man.
All right.
Jimmy. That's tough, but I'm going Jimmy.
Jimmy Butler or Jalen Brunson?
I'm going Jimmy. Wow. I'm going Jimmy over Jalen.
Bold.
Right.
I like it.
Jimmy Butler or Jalen Brown?
Miami took I don't know.
All right. How about Jimmy Butler or Jalen Brown?
You got to go Jalen Brown. I feel like you have to go Jalen Brown.
Jalen Brown or Luka Doncic?
Luka. Luka's something different. Luka's out of here.
Luka Doncic or SGA?
These are the questions.
Got to go Shea. Shea two-way.
2 more. SGA or Steph Curry?
Nah, you can't put him. Nah, I love Shea, but Steph is something different.
Steph Curry or Nikola Jokic?
Nah, Jokic. Jokic is the best player in the NBA.
There you go,
Period.
Nikola
I like Shea.
Jokic. It is.
Nah, that you had some tough ones. You had some tough
I
ones.
told you they get tougher.
Give me better than Brunson.
That was one of them. Yeah.
That and the Cade LaMelo one were my favorites.
That was a good one. I like that.
That is Francis Tiafoe, certified ball knower, and it's not just tennis balls, it's basketballs too. Francis, we really appreciate the time, man. We're going to keep rooting for you every time you step on a court from now until the end of your career. We really appreciate it, man.
Appreciate the time, brother. You guys be easy.
So we weren't lying. Francis Tiafoe, noted ball knower. That guy is a true NBA fan. I also enjoyed the stuff about basketball and tennis crossing over, like which basketball players would be the best at tennis and how far he would have gone if he focused on basketball, because as he mentioned, he was just like absolutely obsessed with tennis. Same energy towards basketball. He would have been a pretty good player. What else stood out to you?
It was just awesome talking to him. He's such a nice guy, and I love the fact that he still has DC close to his heart. Like, he talked about how much he loved playing in DC in the City Open, how much he loved the fact that the fans went nuts for him when he was playing at that match that I went to.
That was cool.
Yeah, and then the fact that, he still has, like, he has DC spots, like, he has his favorite restaurants and everything, I thought was pretty cool, and everything about how he just loves basketball, and he has a deep knowledge of not just the Wizards, but the NBA as a whole, and the knockout game we played was pretty cool. I'm surprised how much he loved, was it Mikal Bridges? Was his boy who won like 20 straight rounds? That was hilarious. I love that. No, but shout out.
That was unexpected.
Shout out to Francis Tiafoe. We appreciate the interview. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, next I want to spotlight some Georgetown news this week, because according to Rivals, they got a massive recruit, Alex Constanza. Great last name, by the way. One letter away from being Costanza. But Bijan, what should DC basketball fans know about him?
So Alex Constanza is a very interesting recruit. He's 4 stars. He's number 29 on ESPN's Top 100 for the class of 2026. I think he's a little bit higher on Rivals. But unlike George Costanza, he is not a short, stocky, bald man. He is a 6'8" absolute demon on the basketball court. Chase, after you texted me that Georgetown got him, I looked up some of his highlights. He's really fluid. Like, he has a really good handle, a tight handle for a guy who's 6'8". Most of his highlights actually were pull-up threes. It looks like he has a very strong outside shooting game. And with what Ed Cooley's doing at Georgetown, I think it could be a big piece of what they're going to bring for the future. Hopefully he's not a one and done, but even if he is, I think he can elevate Georgetown for the 2026-27 year once he gets there.
Yeah, you've heard of George Costanza. How about Georgetown Constanza? George is in the name. I mean, I had to do it.
Yeah, right.
So this comes on the heels of Thomas Sorber being a lottery pick coming out of Georgetown, right? So good things are happening on the Hilltop. I actually just saw Georgetown play GW on the campus of GW. It was the first time the two teams had played since the 80s. The game actually aired on Monumental. We had Byron Kerr and Jimmy Patsos, our guys, on the call. And I liked a couple of guys on the Hoyas. They're very big, very physical this year. Malik Mack is somebody to know for sure. He was a star at St. John's High School in D.C. before he played at Harvard and now came to Georgetown. So he's a really good guard. And I saw St. John's coach Pat O'Connor there with my guy Mark Stern of Capital Hoops. So a lot of people came out to see that game. It was a great atmosphere. Another guy who stood out to me from the Hoyas was Caleb Williams. He got really hot from three.
Not the Bears quarterback.
Not the Bears quarterback, but another DC connection. And he was lighting it up from long range. And then GW, they got a guy named Garrett Johnson who was playing in his first game in roughly 2 calendar years because he has recovered from a tumor in his hip and then also a torn ACL, which he suffered during off-season workouts. So there's a great feature on him written for GW's magazine by Lisa Conley Kenzer. So check that out. It's a really, really good story. And also people at GW, I was talking to a lot of people there, they expect to have their best season in years. So there's a lot of exciting things happening with local college basketball. We'll be talking about it more and more here on Off the Bench.
All right, as Chase mentioned earlier, we got a special guest joining the Off the Bench podcast. It is our man, Steven Shoemaker. Steven has been with the Monumental family for over 3 years. Unfortunately, happens to be an Eagles fan, but fortunately is also a certified ball knower and a really great dude, and he's going to know what he's talking about, especially with tennis. He's already dressed appropriately. He's got the U.S. Open polo on. Big tennis guy. Steven, I was going to ask you what you thought first about what Francis Tiafoe said about NBA players who would be good tennis players, because he threw up some crazy ones. Like John Morant, I get. Dirk Nowitzki, who we actually played with, I get. But do you have any thoughts on what he said and maybe some other players who come to mind when you think about that kind of thing?
Yeah, well, first of all, guys, thanks for having me. It's great to get the call up off the bench to be off the bench. But yeah, it's so interesting to think about it because you see so many athletes out there and they're so skilled and athletic, but then they could be so good at basketball, but then they pick up a tennis racket and it looks like they have no idea what they're doing, which is so interesting because I feel like if you're athletic, you can pretty much handle any sport. But the John Morant one I think is interesting because he has such crazy bounce. So if you try to lob him in tennis, it's probably not going to work out. And
Yeah, like if he goes to the net, it's over for you.
yeah, he's so quick and explosive. I could see him being a good tennis player. Dirk, especially in tennis, you see guys like Riley Opelka and John Isner. It pays to be almost 7 foot. So I'm sure Dirk would have a massive serve. And I think Francis might have even mentioned hitting with him at one point, which is so cool.
Yeah, I
Not
want to
sure.
hit with Dirk. How do I arrange that?
Yeah. That'd be so cool. Yeah, I'm trying to think of who else you might have mentioned, but like Steve Nash, he just seems like an all-around athlete. I know he's a great soccer player. He's probably a good tennis player too. But yeah, it's kind of cool to see that crossover with somebody who plays basketball. You wouldn't really think of them being a good tennis player, but even Corey Kispert, I know he's a huge pickleball player. But I could
Yeah.
even see him being a good
Friend of
tennis
the
player.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, as we mentioned on social media, we're doing a mailbag, and these questions were sent in by you, the fans, on mostly Twitter, one from WhatsApp, which was cool. And Steven's going to host it. So, Steven, fire away. These are all Wizards related questions, and me and Chase are ready to go.
Awesome. Yeah, first edition of Off the Bench Mailbag. Let's start off with first question is from Ed Helinsky. Good and bad. What's been surprising about the Wizards so far this season?
I'll start with the good on my end. I think Keyshawn George and the way he's handled like a very large role in their offense, much larger than I expected him to have. That's been really impressive. If you look at touches per game, he's had basically the ball in his hands the same amount of time that Bradley Beal did during his prime, and like more than Jordan Poole did the last couple of years. And he's fared well. Like he's not turning the ball over. He's shooting efficiently. I think he's very well suited for that role.
Yeah, for me, the good is about Alex Sarr, and I wrote an article about this earlier this week where I mentioned and referenced what Joel Embiid had to say about it. Sarr has like completely revamped his game. Like he is playing more inside. He's using his body. He said that he gained, I think, 5 pounds and maybe a half inch of height over the offseason. And he's using his newfound strength to get into the paint and take better shots. I think the stat was last year his average shot distance was like 14 and a half feet, and this year it's like 9 feet. Like he is objectively playing way more in the paint. He's way more efficient with his shooting, and he's also maintaining that defensive efficiency, which is cool. But then to go on the not a bad thing, and Chase, you'll give your answer to this as well. Not a bad thing, but something that is something to monitor and something maybe to work on. For me is Bub Carrington, and Brian Keefe mentioned this in practice earlier this week. Bub is now coming off the bench ever since Bilal Coulibaly came back and is healthy. So with Bub Carrington coming off the bench and leading that second unit, there is going to be a little bit of a learning curve there, and Bub's efficiency has dropped off a little bit. It's also different playing with a guy like CJ McCollum, where maybe you're not going to be handling the ball as much as a lead guard should, because CJ McCollum can play that role as well. So Bub Carrington, again, we're only like a few games into this 82 game season, so there's going to be a lot of room for him to figure it out. But that's something to monitor for me. What about you, Chase?
Yeah, for me, it's the defense hasn't really got off the ground yet. And I think they have a lot of pieces. They still sort of lack a point of attack ball stopper, which maybe they have on their roster. They just have to develop that guy. But they have not been stopping the ball on dribble drives. And so I think until they shore that up, they might have some trouble on the defensive end. But they also have enough pieces, especially with Bilal back, to like show progress by the end of the year. So I still expect them to. We just haven't seen it quite yet.
That's right. Good question, Ed. Appreciate it.
It's good stuff. That's good stuff. Let's go to our next question is from Kevin Pulley. It seems to me like the Wizards believe in the model of facilitator by committee versus having a primary ball handler. We have multiple players bringing it up and multiple players facilitating the offense. Do you believe this is a viable offensive strategy? Any other successful examples of this in the NBA? Or do you think this season the Wizards will need to prioritize developing a current player into a primary facilitator to run the offense? And who could that be?
So I think they kind of are developing that guy right now with Keyshawn George, because if you look at like pick and roll frequency around the league, he's running a ton of pick and roll. So like clearly they have a lot of trust in him. And keep in mind, this guy was a point guard by trade growing up before he had a growth spurt. And what stands out to me is like I've been around long enough to know that there's a lot of NBA players who aren't traditional point guards who think they can play the position, and there's a lot of like executives who draft players and sort of say aspirationally when they draft them, "Oh, we think this guy can develop into a point guard," and it very rarely happens. Like it's a really hard position to play. But Keyshawn George, I think, has so far proven that he's an anomaly in that regard because he's protecting the ball fairly well. His turnovers are still a little bit more than he would like, but he's shooting efficiently. He's creating offense for himself and for others. So I think there might be something there with Keyshawn George as a primary facilitator. What do you think, Bijan?
I totally agree. I think they're setting up Keyshawn to be that guy in the future. And the whole thing with multiple ball handlers bringing it up, I feel like that's more of a strategy for transition offense specifically. Like if you get a board and you want to go sprint and you want to go really fast, like we know the Wizards want to do, that is a good strategy for that. It becomes a different answer when you're starting to talk about can this player bring the ball up and then get into a half court set. Like if Tristan Vukovic grabs a rebound, can he be the guy to facilitate the offense on the other end? That's a whole nother question, and I think that's something that the Wizards are figuring out because they do like to play fast and they get in transition a lot, and I do think that the vast majority of their players can lead a transition break, but that number shrinks significantly when you're talking about guys who can actually facilitate half-court offense, and I agree with you that Keyshawn George is a guy who can do both, and he's been getting the ball a lot, and in terms of other teams where it works, I don't know of any other team in the NBA where they have guys 5 guys on the floor, all 5 of them can lead a half-court offense. Like you see teams like the Spurs where they have a bunch of different ball handlers and guys who bring the ball up. I feel like the Bulls do that a little bit, but it's not really that widespread of a phenomenon in the NBA. So it's interesting to see where the Wizards are going to go from this if they're going to try to get their guys to be leading the half-court offense. Also, shout out Kevin. Kevin's my boy from high school. He sent that question in via WhatsApp, and he actually lives in Turkey right now and is still tapped into the Wizards. So shout out, Kev.
Wow. Speaking of the 5 players who can dribble, pass, and shoot, that's what the Wizards want to do. Oklahoma City's kind of achieved that to a certain degree, but they do have a guy in SGA who handles the ball quite a bit, and they run a lot of things through him. Boston might be another team to mention. They've achieved, I think, at times, especially when Porzingis was there, an offense where you just kind of never know who's going to initiate the action.
And that's the benefit of having a guy like Alex Sarr or like Tristan Vukovic who are offensively gifted and huge. Like that's what I said when the Wizards drafted Alex Sarr. Like his ceiling is Kristaps Porzingis leading the offense through the point of attack in the half court set. So we'll see where that goes as well.
Our next question is from Keith Leonard, not Kawhi Leonard. Keith Leonard, small sample size notwithstanding, where do y'all see the Wizards at? Have there been encouraging signs?
I think the Wizards are still a rebuilding team that are trying to put it all together as a team, but we're starting to see some encouraging signs with individual players, Keyshawn George, Alex Sarr among them. But I'd like to highlight Bilal Coulibaly. I think I've seen some positives from him coming back. He's been very aggressive. I like that. And I also think that for the first time, they have a role where he's perfectly suited for. They asked him to do a lot on the offensive end the first 2 years. Now he knows that he's needed because we saw the defense without him. He came back. He's the point of attack guy against star players, the best ball handlers in the league. And I think he's in a position where he can really thrive and he's going to be really comfortable in. So I'm interested to see where that goes.
Totally agree with Chase. I think the Wizards' strategy of throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks is fully in progress. And I think it's working. They're taking a bunch of swings on these young guys. Keyshawn looks like he's going to hit. Alex Sarr looks like he's going to hit. Bub Carrington, like I mentioned earlier, has some work to do this season with leading that second unit, but he looks very encouraging as well. And like Chase said, Bilal Coulibaly is becoming that point of attack defender on the perimeter that the Wizards have needed and hoped he would become when they drafted him. So long-term strategy, I like where the Wizards are at. There are also obviously holes that they need to plug. They're going to need to bring in more vets every year to keep having that tutelage aspect in place for the Wizards. Right now it's CJ and Chris. Next year it might be different. We don't know, but they're going to need to keep plugging away at that. So far so good, I think, in terms of where they're at with the journey that they're going to take. It might be a long-term project, but that's what fans have signed up for anyway. So I'm totally cool with where they're at, and I do think it's encouraging on an individual scale.
Definitely lots of encouraging signs. That's for sure. Our next 2 questions and final 2 questions are both from a sad DC sports fan. The first one, where do we rank league-wide in terms of the quantity and effectiveness of our dribble handoffs and pick and roll attempts? What are our best and worst defensive coverages on a per possession basis?
So
That's
first of all,
question for the stats guy.
yeah, and first of all, sad DC sports fan. These were submitted before the Commanders played the Seahawks on Sunday Night Football.
Even sadder
so
now, yeah.
I don't
he's
know.
a friend
Yeah,
of the show too. He's been hitting us up a lot on Twitter. So shout out to him being a friend of the show. And honestly, with what happened in the Commanders game, I understand being a sad DC sports fan right now.
So yeah, I'll run through the numbers real quick. Dribble handoffs, the Wizards are 5th in frequency, 13th in efficiency. It's kind of a trademark of Brian Keefe's offense if you look back the last few years. This year, CJ McCollum and Tre Johnson are the guys primarily in those actions. And for pick and rolls, they run the most pick and rolls in the NBA so far this year, up from 4th last year. Keyshawn George is leading the way. They're tied for 18th in efficiency on pick and rolls for the ball handler. 6th in efficiency for the roll man, which is a great sign for Alex Sarr. He's been really good at both setting screens and rolling to the rim. Last year, they were 27th in that area. And for the defense, we'll have to check back. The sample size is really small, so you're not really seeing a whole lot of like shape to like point to in the numbers. But I think we'll get there and we'll report back.
I don't have a lot to add on to that because Chase pretty much hit it on the head with all the stats he gave. But just watching the team play, you can tell that they're going with multiple sets on their pick and rolls and their dribble handoffs. They're also doing a lot more off-ball movement, I've noticed, when they run those sets from the top of the key, which is an encouraging sign. So just keep an eye on that. Alex Sarr, we mentioned, as being a guy who came into the league not really the hardest screen setter. Like a lot of times he would set a ghost screen and just begin the roll without actually making contact with a guy. He's starting to fix that a little bit. He's starting to become a lot more physical, as I mentioned. Something to keep an eye on for sure.
And our next question from a sad DC sports fan as well is, outside of Alex Sarr and Keyshawn George, who have really transformed their entire games this past offseason, which particular skill has a Wizards player improved on the most?
That's a great question.
I'm going to highlight Marvin Bagley. I think his ability to consistently impact the game and quickly off the bench has really stood out to me. I think he's become like just an absolute professional coming off the bench. And obviously he was the 2nd overall pick. Didn't live up to the star billing, but is going to have a long career at this point doing just what he's been doing so far. And if you look a little bit deeper into the numbers, his finishing efficiency around the rim, really, really good, better than it's ever been. And also his passing numbers are up. So Marvin Bagley, low key, is continuing to improve his game.
Chase, have you noticed watching Bagley play this year that he's showing what he did at Duke a lot on the rebounding aspect with his second jump? Like he'll leap.
He's got a great second jump.
His second jump is like the best in NBA history, I think. Like he'll leap for a rebound,
Wow.
He'll get tipped away, but then he'll have a second jump off of no momentum, which is as high as his first jump, and he'll snag a rebound. Like his rebounding has been really, really cool to see, I think. And it's like vintage Marvin Bagley. I don't know if that's fair to say because he's like 25, but it is vintage Marvin Bagley. For me, I really like what I've seen from AJ Johnson, and I know the obvious caveat with this is an extremely small sample size. AJ Johnson's minutes have been dwindled this year because of the fact that CJ McCollum's here, Bub Carrington's taking minutes, Will Riley, all these
Give
guys.
it time. He'll play.
He'll be playing for sure. And Keyshawn George obviously bringing the ball up changes that as well. But AJ Johnson has been getting better at getting past his first defender at the point of attack. And we asked Brian Keefe about that in the offseason specifically. I was like, how has he gotten better at getting past his guy? And Keefe said he's improved. And I think once you see him playing in the regular season, you'll notice that. And he got some minutes at the end of that Magic game because the score wasn't really all that close. And it was against the Magic's like 2nd or 3rd unit, so it wasn't the best defenders out there for them. But he did a really good job of getting past his primary defender at the top of the key, and I think his twitchability is something to monitor. And the Wizards are a team that struggle getting paint touches, so if he is a guy who can get paint touches, kick it out to an open shooter, that's a huge development for the team.
AJ Johnson, Francis Tiafoe, big fan of AJ Johnson. Keep that in mind moving forward. Said he's going to be a really good player.
Approval.
Yeah, stamp of approval. All right, that'll do it for this episode of Off the Bench. Thanks to Francis Tiafoe, to Tyrese Maxey, to Anthony Black, to our producer, Steven Shoemaker. Great job, Steven. And as always, thanks for watching, everyone.